Geek Therapy Radio.
Welcome to Geek Therapy Radio. You've got your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger. Friend of the show, David Murray, you might know him as the 8-Bit Guy on YouTube, has come under fire from the gatekeepers in the retro computing community over a recent video, and he's come under more scrutiny for a very, very old video clip that has resurfaced. David released a response video on his Patreon page and has given me clearance to play the audio here on my show because he deserves a chance to explain himself. I'm going to play it on the radio show because though he's talking about various subjects, what he's talking about on the whole applies to a lot more than just retro computers. It kind of speaks to this current culture overall. But regardless, he deserves a chance to explain himself. I'm giving him the opportunity here now, and we're going to listen to his video that he released on Patreon in its entirety because it is very important. Let's just dive right in now.
Hey guys, so this is my usual Patreon update video, and of course this is just an unlisted YouTube video, so you obviously can share it around on some of these social media sites if people are looking for some answers in response to things. I don't normally engage too much in with critics, but this last month it's like people are chasing me around on the internet with pitchforks and torches and stuff. So I guess I better respond to the angry mob just a little bit with some of these things. First thing I want to tell you about, though, is that most of July and August was consumed by a big project that I had agreed to do for Activision. And even though I'm actually done with that project now, at least from my end, I'm still not allowed to talk about it because it hasn't been entirely publicized yet. So at some point or another, I'll be able to tell you about that. But anyway, point is, it put me greatly behind on a lot of my other projects. And of course, I knew it was going to, but I mean, they were paying me. So I mean, it's not a. I mean, I knew that I would lose some YouTube revenue over it, but like I said, it wasn't that big of a deal since they were paying me. So that being said, though, here we are in September, and I've got a lot of projects that are really behind the schedule, and I'm trying to catch up on things. And unfortunately, none of the videos are going to be ready anytime real soon. The studio build also, by the way, is kind of a I wouldn't say spur of the moment thing, but I would just say it happened at an inconvenient time, but it's still nevertheless something that needs to get done so that I can be more productive. So anyway, point is, I was very rushed, and when I got a call from Raymond saying up at Computer Reset saying, hey, we found this IBM workstation, whatever, maybe you'd like to do a video on it. He told me a little bit. He didn't know much about it other than he said he'd never seen such a thing before, and it seemed kind of interesting. So I'm like, okay, I thought I could use a quick video right now. And for me, a quick video is something I can make in like 10 hours, right? I mean, which is very rare. Most of my videos take me 40 to 80 hours to produce. So I thought, I could use a quick video right now because, I don't have that much content on my channel. And so I'm like, okay. So I drove up there, picked it up, and I would like to point out one thing that a lot of people don't, I guess, realize is that this machine was on loan to me. I didn't have a lot of time with it. So it's not like a lot of people, I think, were under the impression this was donated to me so I could just basically take all the time in the world I wanted to with it. And that's just not the case. So besides all the other projects I was still working on and trying to get finished, this was kind of thrown on top of it. And I thought I could do this in like 10 hours. But then, of course, I found out it didn't work. So I was really expecting to bring back a computer that hopefully worked. Because, a lot of the stuff up there at Computer Reset, I'd say most of it does seem to work. I mean, there's definitely some stuff in there that doesn't, but these were like in what looked like, I wouldn't say original boxes, but I mean, you saw the boxes. They looked like they would be packed in a way that they probably worked. So anyway, when they didn't work, of course, I'm like, okay, well, I've already spent the time to drive up there and pick these up. I guess I better go ahead and at least see if I can fix one of them. And, so that brings us to the next point of discussion, and which was the paperclip. So a lot of people are enraged by that, and I think there's a lot of armchair warriors out there right now that are. What I mean by that is, anytime you've seen a news story where something happens to somebody, whether it's like an altercation or an assault or car accident or something like that, you've always, where somebody has to make a decision like really quick, and then something happens and all the armchair warriors go, well, I would have done this differently, even though they really don't know because they weren't there, right? But anyway, that's kind of what I feel like is going on right now. So the thing with the paperclip is, I used to be the service manager at a computer store back from 2000 to 2005. And I mean, we got all kinds of crazy things in there that I had to repair. I mean, I must have repaired, 10 computers a day for at least 5 or 6 years straight. And I got a lot of weird all-in-one systems like that. And that was my go-to method to get them to turn on if they had the switch up in the top part. And I must have done that 100 times, and it always worked. On the few times it didn't work, it just didn't work. I mean, it didn't hurt anything. So, for everyone who's saying that was negligent or careless of me, that's actually a really common procedure to do. And like I said, I had every expectation that it would work. So I don't know. I don't really know how to respond to those accusations. Obviously, if it had worked in the video, nobody would have said anything about it. But because it didn't work, that's why I'm saying it's a lot of armchair warriors, because they're coming out saying, well, it should have been obvious that it wouldn't work. Well, in fact, as soon as that happened, of course, first thing I did is I called up numerous people that I highly respect their opinion on repairing stuff, including like Raymond and Kevin Williams and my brother and several people. And they all said exactly the same thing. They says, oh, well, that's what I would have done. I'm surprised it didn't work. And it seems the consensus on the internet is that perhaps the reason it didn't work was because I put my meter on there and it showed a dead short when the switch was turned on. But perhaps what's going on, has been suggested by other people, is that it's actually funneling power into a transformer or some kind of something like that. And so that's why the meter was showing a dead short, because maybe it's looking for alternating current, which would create a magnetic field in a transformer or something like that. But in which case it's still a mystery as to how the power supply knows that the monitor was turned on. I mean, is it like monitoring the current going out to the monitor? Is that how it knows? And if it is, that seems like a really overly complex, convoluted way. I mean, a simple wire and a switch would be like, I don't know, we are talking about IBM here, so I mean, doing things simple is perhaps not always their strong suit. So anyway, I don't know what else to say about the paperclip thing other than it wasn't malicious, it wasn't negligent, it wasn't careless. It was a procedure that I have done hundreds of times, and most electronics enthusiasts I know have done similar things, and it should have worked. If it had been any other computer, it would have probably worked just fine. So, yeah.
Basically, David documented his bad luck. Something that would work in 100 other cases, 1,000 other cases, just randomly didn't work out here, and he kept it in. He kept the mistake in the video. Let's hear why when we come back. More Geek Therapy Radio. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I've been playing audio from David Murray, the 8-Bit Guy's response video that he posted to his Patreon page. He did give me permission. I texted him and asked him if I can do this. He said it's cool. So where we left off, he mentioned that he kept his mistake in the video, and he often keeps his mistakes in the video. And there's a big reason why he does that, which he will address now. Let's kick it right back to David.
Now, having talked about that, I want to point something else out. So a lot of people are saying that I'm arrogant and that I think I'm Mr. Big Shot, know-it-all, all this kind of stuff. And I don't know why people think that. I actually leave these mistakes in my videos. Like, if I wanted to portray myself as Mr. Big Shot, know-it-all, I would just edit that stuff out. I mean, let's be fair. It's actually my humility that tells me to put that stuff in there so that people can see, hey, you know what? This is what you shouldn't do, And there's been many times I've made mistakes in videos, whether it be with a RetroBrite gone wrong or whether it be with blowing up a compact motherboard, things like that. I always leave those mistakes in so that people can learn from my mistakes. But the reality is I could have easily just edited that out and pretended it never happened, but I didn't. So I'm letting you guys see it, and hopefully it's a lesson to people. So then, of course, comes the security screw thing. Now, I actually have, because a lot of people are saying, David, you don't have any security bets? Actually, I have like 100 of them. I just didn't have that one. Actually, at the last job I worked at, I had one of those drivers right at my desk, but I didn't bring it home with me when I quit that job. So I just didn't have that one on hand. And the hardware store didn't have one either, at least the one I went to. And I wasn't going to search all around town because, again, I was kind of under time pressure here to get this done. So I got out the Dremel. Now, the thing with the Dremel is, and I've read a lot of the comments about using the Dremel, and a lot of people said, well, I should have just made a single slot across the top of the screw, which actually I've done that before numerous times, and I considered doing it this time, and I didn't, because sometimes if you don't hold that Dremel really, really still, you can wind up creating more of like a V channel instead of a square channel, which is what you really need for a flat tip screwdriver. And then it just becomes even more difficult to get off, especially if the screw is really tight. And so I just figured the best chance for success was sawing the edges off the screw. Other people have pointed out that apparently, and I did not know this, but apparently if you took a flat tip screwdriver and a hammer, you could have knocked the pin out of one of those. That's news to me. I've never seen that done before. So, yeah, like I said, I'm always learning new things. Next time I come across one of those, maybe I'll give it a shot. But, of course, I'll have the correct security bit at that point because I already ordered one of those. So, I'm also faced with a situation where, like I said, I was kind of in a hurry to do this video. And that in and of itself is probably the biggest mistake here, is just getting in a hurry to do a video. Like I said, I had limited time. I needed to get this done and returned it. And I've already invested like a certain amount of time in this video. And, every YouTuber faces this dilemma. It's like you've made a video, you're not really happy with how it's coming out, and you have to decide after you've invested a day or two in it. It's like, well, gee, do I keep going and try to finish this, or do I just cut my losses, shelve this video, and move on to something else? And under normal circumstances with something like this, I probably would have done the latter, which is shelve it and move on to something else. The reason I didn't in this case was because, like I said, the whole reason I was doing this video is because I felt like I really needed to get something out on my channel because I hadn't put any content out in a while. So that was one thing. And then B is the fact that this machine's kind of rare and there weren't any other YouTube videos on it. So I felt like I would be doing a disservice to the community by not at least showing people this, because like I said, there aren't any other YouTube videos and probably won't be because these machines were destined to go to some museum or something after I was done with them. So that was my reasoning behind why I did what I did. Now, I was totally shocked and taken by surprise at the outrage over that. And the reason, I think, is because I didn't really consider this machine to be valuable. Yes, it's very rare, but there are a lot of things in this world that are rare but aren't necessarily valuable. I got a rock in my backyard. It's like one of a kind, but it's not worth anything. And I didn't consider an IBM like this to be particularly valuable. It's not historically significant anyway. It's really not that great of a computer. There's really not a whole lot of a story to tell behind it. It's actually just kind of a big mystery, just kind of a failed product line, really, is what it was. And again, I didn't think people would hold it in such high regards. Now, if this had been like an Apple I or a Lisa prototype or a Commodore 65 or something like that, well, of course, I would have been much more careful with it. I would have probably been wearing cotton gloves, just touching the thing. But again, I just personally didn't think this machine was all that valuable. Plus, I was in constant communication with the guys at Computer Reset about it as well, and they felt the same way about it that I did. So, in fact, everybody I talked about with this machine kind of felt the same way about it that I did. So I was really surprised that there were people on the internet that felt that this machine was special enough that I should have treated it with the kind of regard that that I didn't, right? So I guess it would be analogous to somebody finding an old car in a junkyard or something and thinking, oh, well, it's just an old car in a junkyard. Here, let me take it home and chop it up and make it into some kind of special project or something. And then they come to find out there's some niche group of people that like really love that car, and then they're all like totally pissed off about it, right? And I guess that's kind of the same type of situation I found myself in. And I don't really know what to say about it other than just, I can apologize. I can say, hey, to you guys that felt this computer was more valuable, I'm sorry. I don't, beyond that, I don't know what else I could really say about it. And then I'd like to talk about just another talking point here. So a lot of people have been commenting that David doesn't learn from his mistakes. Well, that's actually not true. That's, again, one of the reasons I leave these things in the video, so that, hey, you saw me learn from the mistake. You saw me learn from it the moment I did it. I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. Lesson was learned immediately right there. And if I were to have done the same thing in another video, well, then you could use the argument that David doesn't learn from his mistakes, but you will probably not see me make the same mistake twice. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about the hate fest that's going on right now on some of these social media sites. So, one thing that I've had to come to terms with over the last 3-4 years that I've been doing YouTube is that you can't please everyone. And there's always going to be a group of people that don't like me. And it's not just me. I mean, you look at any celebrity out there, whether it's, Elon Musk or Neil deGrasse Tyson or even Bill Nye the Science Guy, whatever. There's always a group of people. Like if you see any post on a news media site or something about one of these people, there's always a group of people in there, tearing them down, talking bad about them, calling them names. And it doesn't seem to matter how smart someone is, doesn't seem to matter how accomplished or what good things they've done for society. It just doesn't matter. There's always somebody that hates them. And I actually have haters that like literally subscribe to my channel just so that they can downvote like every video that I put out there. It's gives them some kind of satisfaction or something like that. So, I've been aware of this for a long time. But something has cropped up. I say cropped up. It's an old video that I made 7 years ago. And I'm not even going to tell you what it is because it doesn't matter. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But it's me basically stating a political opinion. If you haven't seen it, then don't worry about it. The reality is, if you did see it, there's a 50% chance you wouldn't like it because that's true of a lot of controversial topics, no matter what it is that you're talking about, whether it's, abortion or gun control or religion or, there's just certain hot topics that are very polarizing. And no matter what stance that you take, the 50% of the population has the other stance. And so the thing is, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you should stop subscribing to the 8-Bit Guy. You should stop supporting him on Patreon, whatever, because he supports this particular political opinion. And the thing is, that's just ludicrous. I do not use this channel as a means to stand up on a soapbox and promote my political beliefs. And if you're just now finding out, like you just now saw the 7-year-old video that someone's posted on Twitter, and you're like, wow, I didn't know David believed that or whatever. And well, here's the thing. That's if you didn't know it until just now, well, that's a testament to the fact that I do not politicize stuff here on this channel. And so if somebody's going to say that they don't support me because of my political belief, well, now, I mean, it would be one thing if I did politicize stuff on my channel, then I could certainly see why people would not want to support me. But being that I don't, I mean, anybody who takes that sort of attitude, they might as well pretty much stop watching any movies, any TV shows, listening to any music, reading any books, because pretty much every celebrity, every writer, every musician out there is going to have some political belief that's different from yours. And you just can't go around saying I'm not going to consume any media anymore just because everybody has a different political belief than me. And like I said, it might be different if that person is using their celebrity status as a means to promote their political agenda, but I don't.
More of the 8-Bit Guy's response to critics coming up. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. You've got your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger. Go to geektherapyradio.com for more information about Geek Therapy Radio, old podcasts, all sorts of stuff, merch. And the very first thing you see on geektherapyradio.com is just a contact form. You can reach out to me anytime. The first thing you see on that website is a form to send me an email. So, anyways, geektherapyradio.com and all of the social media, Geek Therapy Radio, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just look for the red, white, and black color scheme, and you're good to go. That's me. So we've been listening to David Murray's response video, and we will continue it here because there is a lot more that I think we need to hear and David deserves to say. I'm sharing this because it's what he uploaded to his Patreon page, and he has given me the full clearance to play the full audio here. There's some people that may not be able to hear his response otherwise. The video he uploaded isn't private, it's just unlisted. It's a YouTube video, meaning anybody with the link can share it around however they want. David did give me clearance over the phone to play this audio, but there's still a lot of people who may not come across this audio if people like me who have a link to it don't share it. And since David has allowed us to share it, I'm sharing it. Anyways, let's continue on with the video response. Now he's explaining about the differentiator, the dividing line between his old channels and the 8-Bit Guy channel. So let's hear more of his defense.
Now, I do have another channel that I used to run several years ago. I haven't haven't done anything with that channel in ages. And there is some of that on there, but that's not the 8-Bit Guy. And I don't a long time ago I used to cross promote the channels, but I haven't done that in like years and years. Once this channel didn't really come into focus until like 4 or 5 years ago. And at that point I made a decision that, it's got to be completely separate. I'm not going to associate with anything else like that. So anyway, this video crops up from time to time, and I'm not even, like I said, I'm not even really going to address the specifics of the issue, because it's one of those topics that really doesn't matter. Like what I say, 50% of the people aren't going to agree with it, right? So I'm not going to waste my time trying to even debate it here. But I did want to at least, address it because people keep asking me about it. But that being said, I also want to talk about the censoring of comments. Now, this is something I don't typically do. Most people know I pretty much leave any critical comments in my videos because I believe in freedom of speech, right? And I'm always open to criticism, and I don't delete critical comments. However, I did disable the comment field on the IBM video because it had just turned into a rat's nest, a hornet's nest, whatever you want to call it, of vile, hateful, hate speech. And it's just full of insults and profanity, and just, there's nothing productive about that at all. There's no, it's not constructive criticism. It's just flat out hate speech. And so I have children that watch my videos, and I don't want them seeing that kind of stuff in the comment field. So I just turned it off. And so I might turn it back on later after some of this has died back down. But that's the reason I turned it off. And I've also been going through the latest video about the video game I made, and I've just been deleting any comments related to that. And if people are on there, coming on there with hate speech, I'm just flat out banning them from the channel. I'm not putting up with it right now. I mean, again, I've always been open to criticism, but if you're just logging in there to call me names and cuss me out and everything, well, I don't need you as a subscriber. I don't need you as a follower on my channel, and I don't need you commenting on my channel. So for those people, that's why I've banned you. It's not something I normally do, but I mean, this is just escalated out of control. And there's one last thing that I want to address. Actually, I've got a comment here. I'm going to throw it up on the screen from Zether. It's not just this guy. There's a bunch of people that have said the same thing, and I think it's worthy of mentioning. It says, I'm glad I'm not the only person who was put off by 8-Bit Guy's constant lack of response to comments pointing out legitimately incorrect things in his videos, sometimes related to repairs. Well, I can see why somebody would think that, but the reality is I have hundreds of videos, and each video has thousands of comments on it. If you do the math, it's like 1.5 million comments out there. It's not humanly possible for me to look at all of those comments and answer every single one of them. But the reality is, after about 24 hours during the first, when I first put a video out, I do actually respond to most comments, including the critical ones, and I try to be as polite as possible about it. But the thing is there's always a lot of people asking the exact same thing or complaining about the exact same thing. And so while I've responded to, say 50 or 60 of those, after, 48, 72 hours, those are pushed way down the list in the comments. And so it may look like I'm not responding to comments anymore because the newer people, there's like 1,000 more people asking the exact same question because they didn't look down at the bottom of the comments. And so, and I just don't reply to them. Now, I do reply to the emails when people send those direct to my inbox. And I have, of course, the same problem there. When I put out a video that there's a mistake in, I'll get like 1,000 emails of the same thing. And I usually just wind up doing a carbon copy reply because I don't have time to reply personally to each and every one. And, here's the thing that people don't understand about that. When they email me or they write a comment, sometimes I think a lot of people feel like, well, they're the first person to tell me that. But rarely is that the case. And from my perspective, it's like somebody rings your doorbell, you open the door, there's this line of people out that's like, lined all down the street, and the first guy tells you, hey, guess what? You did this wrong. You're an idiot, whatever. And then you're like, okay, well, you address that guy, and then you close the door. Next guy rings the doorbell, you open it up, it's another person telling you the exact same thing. And it just goes on and on and on. After a while, you've already responded to it, but the other 1,000 people down that line haven't heard it yet. And in fact, my tone tends to change a little bit, like from like the first 10 or 15 people I respond to, I try to be as polite as possible. But, after a certain amount of people, I start to get a little bit more and more and more angry, because I know to those people, they feel like they're the first person to tell me. But from my perspective, I feel like I literally have a line of people, one after another, telling me the exact same thing. And it's really, really difficult to remain polite and cordial about it. And, it's something I work on constantly, and I try to be better about that. But it's, most people don't know what it's like. I would have never known what it's like if I hadn't become a successful YouTuber. So it's definitely challenging. The other thing I would like to mention about that is, obviously my videos are never going to be 100% accurate. I've never claimed that they are, but I go through a pretty rigorous process trying to research and get all my information correct. I go out, I ask lots of people, I read lots of articles, I'll jump on Facebook forums and ask experts in that particular area, for their input, whatnot. And then, of course, I release the video to Patreon, and it gets, usually about 24 hours where patrons can watch it. And there's, about 24 hours there for, I don't know, usually a few hundred people, sometimes 1,000 will watch it during that time period. And if there's any mistakes, they'll tell me. And if it's a serious mistake, I'll actually go back and re-edit the video and re-upload it. So if you saw the mistake just out as a general viewer on YouTube, then it already got past me and all my intensive research, all the people I asked, and then it also got past all the patrons that watched it before it wound up on YouTube. And so... it happens though. I mean, there's always this like one weird fact or something that like very, very, very few people actually know. And of course, after I do the video, that person will come out of the woodworks. And sometimes people tell me I'm rude when accepting criticism, or even sometimes just new information. But the reality is, and this is something I've tried to explain before, like, YouTube does not allow you to like edit a video. Like once it's out there, it's done, right? So, I'm not going to go take a video down that's been up for, several days or a week and put a new one up and edit a bunch of stuff into it. I mean, once the video's done, it's more or less done. So when people come back and they say that they found some extra fact or information about the thing I just did a video on, or they want to tell me I was wrong about something in the video or whatever, well, that's great, but the reality is the video's done. And, I don't often know what to really reply to those people. And in many cases, if it's a one-off video, like if it's not a series or something like that, I'm not going to be coming back and revisiting it. I mean, it's just not logistically possible to do that sort of thing. And, if I take the video down, then every link out there on the internet linking to that video will be linking to a non-existent video. And then if I post it back up, all my subscribers will be mad, like, why are you posting the same video again? And I know, because I've tried this in the past, and this is exactly what happens. And so it causes a huge mess if I take a video down and re-upload it, and with edits and stuff like this. So I just don't do it. Sometimes in the description field, I'll put like updates if there's something found or whatnot like that. But that's just the reality of it. And so it's not necessarily being rude. It's just that it just is the way it is. And you can talk to any YouTuber and they'll tell you the exact same thing. Because I've had lots of discussions with other YouTubers about these types of things. And on the bright side, most of my videos are not controversial, but every now and then, one of them is. This last one has probably been the most controversial of any video that I've ever made, and it's just, like I said, totally shocked me.
When we come back, it wouldn't be 2020 without accusing a celebrity of being racist. More Geek Therapy Radio coming up. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. You've got your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger. If you would have told me at any point in recent history that David Murray would be accused, the 8-bit guy would be accused of being racist, I would have immediately asked what you were smoking. Did a capacitor blow up on the motherboard and you just inhaled all of the toxic smoke? Have you been around too much lead solder? The 8-bit guy? Someone's accusing the freaking 8-bit guy of being racist? Are you kidding me? That's 2020, baby. That's 2020. So the last thing David, unfortunately, has to defend himself over is being accused of racist. Now, I'm getting worked up over this. All that means is that these people don't know David Murray. If David Murray is being accused of being racist or anti-gay, anti-LGBTQ, it would boggle my mind. That means that those people, it's not that they don't know David, it's that they don't care to know David. They don't care to give another human being a benefit of the doubt that maybe they're hearing or seeing something out of context. And it is a chore to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. It is easy to hear a sound clip or a sound bite or one brief little thing and immediately make up your entire opinion about a person without ever giving them the opportunity to explain themselves or defend themselves, which is exactly why I'm giving David the opportunity to explain and defend himself here. I have played this video audio. It's been separated into different segments because it's a radio broadcast, but it is completely unedited in its entirety. I have done nothing to doctor anything. I haven't taken out one breath of his response here because everybody deserves to defend themselves. And I'll let you in a little bit further behind the curtain of why this stuff like this is so important to me. I am building my image in this public realm. Radio show, growing YouTube channel, growing podcast. I try to run a pretty tight ship. Thus far, cancel culture hasn't come knocking at my door. Obviously, it's because I am not a huge YouTube channel like David the 8-Bit Guy is. People who don't even know about computers have seen 8-Bit Guy videos pop up on their YouTube recommended. They know of the 8-Bit Guy. But cancel culture hasn't come after me yet, and I'm just ruining the day that I have to explain myself to people who don't ever care to get to know me. Almost everybody listening right now, especially on the podcast, you know how open and honest I am about everything. I keep some things sacred. I don't tell you about every little detail that occurs when my wife and I go to the hospital to go do checkups for my baby. There's some things you keep sacred. But I'm an open book on Geek Therapy Radio. And everybody listening to the podcast, because if you listen to multiple podcasts, we've built up a relationship. I've built up a relationship with you. If you're listening on the radio every week, either 10 p.m. on Saturday or 6 p.m. on Sunday, that means that you're building a relationship with me. Maybe I haven't seen your face, or maybe you haven't reached out to me yet through an email or through geektherapyradio.com, but I built a relationship. You are getting to know me. So it's crazy when I know somebody like David Murray starts being accused of being racist. It'd be like if any of my loyal followers, my loyal listeners heard that Johnny Hemberger was being accused of being racist. All of you of my loyal listeners right now would be like, what? What the hell? You're accusing him? We've known him for years. We've been listening to him for years. He responds to our emails. We talk to each other. Cancel culture is accusing him of being racist? Are you kidding me? That's how I feel when David feels he has to defend himself from being accused of being racist. That means those people don't know David. And that scares me. As somebody who's working his own way into the public eye. When will I have to defend myself from people who don't know me, nor care to ask? Let's finish David's response.
Okay, and there's one other topic I've got to address, which is also just totally baffling to me. But when I did the video on my new studio build, I had said that my electrician looked like Morgan Freeman. And he does. I mean, nobody can argue with that. He looks like Morgan Freeman. And in fact, he even told me that himself, because I asked him about it, and he's like, oh, yeah, when I'm out in public, little kids will point and say, Mommy, look, it's God. Because, Morgan Freeman played the character of God in 2 different movies. I thought it was kind of an interesting little remark to make, and I thought it was pretty harmless and funny, and so did he. But when I put out the video, there was suddenly this barrage of emails and comments saying that I'm a racist. And I'm like, what? And I actually engaged with a few of these people. I'm like, please, explain to me how this is racist. I want to know. I mean, I don't want to be a racist. So if I'm behaving in some way that's racist, I want to know about it so I can, better myself, right? Well, I never did really get a particularly good explanation. The closest thing to an explanation I got is one person said that I was trying to say that all African Americans look alike. I don't know how anybody could come to that conclusion, because I was comparing him to a very specific African American celebrity. I mean, it would be like, what if my electrician had been a Caucasian guy and he looked like Sylvester Stallone? And I'd said, oh yeah, my electrician looks like Sylvester Stallone. Would that have been racist? I don't think so. I don't think anybody would think that was racist. And one of the things I have determined, I think right now there's just a very politically charged climate. And I think there are certain people out there that are just looking for racism in anything. And I'll tell you what it feels like to me. It feels like a witch hunt, right? I mean, or a witch trial, like a Salem witch trial. Because, the people, they would say, prove that you're not a witch, right? Well, you can't prove that you're not a witch. And it's the same thing that when someone accuses you of being racist, prove that you're not a racist. Well, how do you do that? You can't, right? In fact, anything you say, they'll just respond and they'll say, well, that's exactly what a racist would say. So anyway, I just decided not to address it at all for a while, because I'm like, there's nothing good that can come of it. But I don't know how else to I don't really know how else to address that other than just let the video speak for itself. And if somebody can actually tell me, David, this is why that was racist, and it actually is like a good logical argument, then I'll recant everything I just said, and I'll say, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'll do better, and I won't make that mistake again. But so far, nobody has been able to give me a logical explanation why that was a racist remark. So until somebody does, I'm standing my ground on that one. So anyway, I think that's going to just about wrap this up. Hopefully next month's video will be a little bit more upbeat, maybe not quite as depressing, not quite as politically charged, not quite as defensive, but anyway. So yeah, time to move on. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy some of the other stuff I've got coming up. So until then, that's it. See you next time.
So that's the end of David Murray, the 8-Bit Guy's response video in its entirety. I hope you found it enlightening. And I hope those of you who don't get to see behind the curtains of the 8-Bit Guy, I hope this helps reveal some things, some humanity to David Murray. I hope it helps you understand who he is a little bit better. That's the main goal of all of this. I hope you really enjoyed listening to the response. Above all else, as always, please know that you're worthy of love. Even if you make mistakes, we all make mistakes. We all get misunderstood sometimes. But even if the world seems like it's against you, even if it seems like it's being unjust and unfair towards you, know that you are worthy of love. You are worthy of giving love. You are worthy of receiving love, and you are worthy of your own self-respect. Sometimes that's the hardest thing. You are worthy of your own self-respect. If you'd like to know more about Geek Therapy Radio or get at me for any business purposes, you can always go to geektherapyradio.com and contact me. Thank you so much for listening. I love you all. Take care. Be safe.